A Japanese bullet train leaves the station. The doors close. The train accelerates, past 100 kilometers per hour, then 150, then 200. Outside the window, only darkness. A few minutes later, the train is doing something that sounds almost impossible. It isn't crossing a bridge, it isn't boarding a ferry. Instead, it's racing beneath the ocean. Above the train, there are nearly 140 meters of water, and beneath that, another 100 meters of rock and seabed. One major mistake during construction and millions of tons of ocean could have flooded the entire project. Yet every single day, high-speed trains pass through this tunnel as if it's completely ordinary. Building a railway beneath one of Japan's most dangerous stretches of ocean was never supposed to be possible. The project took decades, cost billions of dollars, claimed lives, and forced engineers to solve problems nobody had ever faced before. So how did Japan pull it off? And why did an entire nation decide to build one of the deepest underwater railway tunnels on Earth? This is the incredible story of Japan's underwater bullet train tunnel. Chapter 1. The problem no bridge could solve. By the 1950s, Japan was changing rapidly. Its economy was booming, factories were expanding, cities were growing. Trade between the islands was increasing every year. Millions of people and enormous amounts of cargo needed to move between Honshu and Hokkaido. For centuries, ferries had been the answer. But the sea separating the islands was unpredictable. Heavy fog, powerful currents, violent winter storms. Then, in September of 1954, disaster struck. A powerful typhoon hit the Tsugaru Strait. Several ferries sank. More than 1,400 people lost their lives. The tragedy shocked the entire country. Suddenly, this wasn't just a transportation problem. It had become a national emergency. Japan needed a permanent connection, something storms could never shut down. A bridge was considered, but the weather conditions were extreme. The strait was wide, the water was deep, the risks were enormous. Some engineers believed that building a bridge here would be almost impossible. Eventually, a far more ambitious idea emerged. Instead of crossing above the ocean, Japan would go underneath it. At first, the idea sounded absurd. A railway tunnel beneath the sea? In the 1950s, it almost sounded like science fiction. But after the ferry disaster, doing nothing was no longer an option. And so, one of the most ambitious engineering projects in history was born. But the real challenge wasn't the ocean above, it was the world hidden beneath the seabed. Because the geology under the Tsugaru Strait would turn out to be an engineer's nightmare. Chapter 2. The impossible plan. The idea seemed simple. Dig a tunnel, lay railway tracks, connect the islands. In reality, almost every part of the project was a nightmare. The tunnel would eventually stretch nearly 54 kilometers. More than 23 kilometers would run directly beneath the seabed. At its deepest point, trains would travel around 240 meters below sea level. At the time, no railway tunnel in the world had attempted anything on this scale. And the geology made things even worse. Volcanic rock, fault zones, crushed stone, water trapped under enormous pressure. Every meter forward was a gamble. Nobody knew exactly what conditions lay ahead. Some sections of rock were stable, others could collapse without warning. A single mistake could open a pathway directly to the ocean. Even many engineers questioned whether the project was possible at all. Some believed it would take decades. Others thought it could never be completed. But by then, Japan had already committed. Construction would move forward, no matter how difficult it became. Chapter 3. Digging under the sea. Construction officially began in the early 1970s. Almost immediately, the problems started. Water poured into sections of the tunnel. Unexpected rock formations slowed progress. Some areas proved far weaker than expected. Entire sections had to be redesigned. This wasn't a giant tunnel boring machine smoothly cutting through perfect rock. Much of the tunnel had to be drilled and blasted. Every explosion carried risk. The deeper workers went, the more dangerous the conditions became. Water pressure increased, temperatures changed. The risk of flooding never disappeared. Huge pumping systems had to run continuously just to keep certain sections dry. Then came the human cost. Construction accidents became an unfortunate reality. In total, 34 workers lost their lives during the project. Years passed, then more years. progress was painfully slow. At times, the tunnel seemed almost cursed. New leaks appeared, fresh geological problems emerged, costs continued rising. Yet the digging never stopped. Finally, after decades of work, the two sides met beneath the seabed. One of the greatest engineering challenges in modern history had been conquered. Or at least, half of it had. Because building the tunnel was only the beginning. Now engineers had to solve another problem. How do you safely run high-speed trains beneath the ocean? Chapter 4. Inside the underwater bullet train tunnel. A normal railway tunnel is already complicated. A high-speed railway tunnel is an entirely different challenge. At high speeds, air behaves differently. A train moving through a tunnel acts almost like a giant piston. It pushes enormous amounts of air ahead of it. That pressure has to be carefully controlled, otherwise the pressure waves can become dangerous. Engineers had to design sophisticated ventilation systems, drainage systems, emergency stations, escape routes, thousands of sensors. Because hundreds of meters below the ocean, failure simply isn't an option. The tunnel was designed with multiple emergency areas where passengers could be evacuated if something went wrong. Every system had to work perfectly, day after day, year after year. For decades, conventional trains used the tunnel. Then came another historic milestone. In 2016, Japan's famous Shinkansen bullet trains officially began operating through it. For the first time, passengers could travel between Japan's largest islands at high speed through a tunnel buried beneath the sea. What once sounded like science fiction had become reality, and most passengers hardly think about it. They sit comfortably in their seats, look out the window, and never realize that an entire ocean lies above their heads. But after decades of construction and billions of dollars, one question still remained. Was the entire project actually worth it? Chapter 5. Was it worth it? By the time the tunnel opened, the world had changed. Air travel had become cheaper. Air travel had become faster. Critics argued that the tunnel cost far too much money. Some even called it a gigantic engineering mistake. After all, why spend decades building an underwater railway when airplanes could make the same journey in a fraction of the time? But the tunnel offers something airplanes cannot: reliability. Typhoons don't shut it down. Heavy snow rarely stops it. Freight can move day and night. Food, supplies, construction materials, everything can continue flowing between the islands. And in a country constantly threatened by extreme weather and natural disasters, that reliability is incredibly valuable. The tunnel isn't simply a railway, it's a permanent connection, a strategic piece of infrastructure designed to keep northern Japan connected to the rest of the country, even during some of the worst weather conditions imaginable, and that may have made the entire project worth every dollar. Today, bullet trains still disappear into the darkness beneath the Tsugaru Strait. Passengers sit comfortably in their seats, often without realizing what surrounds them. Above the train flats millions of tons of ocean water. Around it, one of the most ambitious engineering projects humanity has ever built. A tunnel that took decades to complete, cost billions of dollars, claimed lives, and proved something extraordinary. If humanity truly wants to connect two places, even the ocean itself can become an obstacle to overcome, because some of the world's greatest engineering achievements aren't built on mountains. They're not built in cities. Sometimes they're hidden deep beneath the sea. And every time a Japanese bullet train enters this tunnel, it's a reminder that even the impossible can eventually become reality.